At 45, Rachel Bennett appeared to have it all. A thriving career as the CEO of a luxury cosmetics brand, a sprawling home in one of New York's most prestigious neighborhoods, and the kind of wealth most people could only dream of. She was a woman who had worked tirelessly to build a life of prestige and power. But beneath the facade of success, there was a secret from Rachel's past, one that had haunted her for more than 2 decades. Raised in a middle-class family in Chicago, Rachel had always been ambitious. From a young age, she had set her sights on conquering the corporate world. Her path was clear: business school, an MBA, and a relentless climb up the corporate ladder. But life had other plans. At 19, she discovered she was pregnant, the father being her then-boyfriend, Mark. Panic overtook her. How could she care for a child when she was still a child herself? After many tearful nights, Rachel and Mark made a heart-wrenching decision. They would give the baby up for adoption. On the day her daughter was born, Rachel held her for only a few minutes. She counted the tiny fingers and toes, noticed a small crescent-shaped birthmark on the baby's wrist, and with a broken heart, handed her over to a social worker. Rachel convinced herself that this was for the best, that her daughter would have a better life without her. The years that followed were a blur of relentless work and repressed emotions. Rachel buried herself in her career, climbing to the top of the cosmetics industry, her success growing along with the wall she built around her heart. The guilt of giving up her daughter was something she never allowed herself to fully process. Eventually, her relationship with Mark crumbled under the weight of that decision, and they parted ways. Meanwhile, across town, a young woman named Emma Foster was navigating a much different path. Raised in a state-run orphanage in Queens, Emma knew hardship intimately. She worked as a waitress in a small cafe, saving every penny to attend nursing school, a dream she clung to despite the odds. Emma had always been curious about her origins, her only clue being the crescent-shaped birthmark on her wrist. She often wondered if her birth mother had the same mark and what her life might have been like under different circumstances. On a sunny afternoon, Emma and Rachel's worlds collided in Central Park. Rachel, dressed in designer clothes, was distracted, lost in thoughts of a crucial upcoming board meeting. Emma, enjoying a rare day off, sat on a nearby bench eating a simple lunch. In a moment of distraction, Rachel tripped over a tree root and instinctively grabbed the nearest person to break her fall: Emma. Both women tumbled to the ground. Rachel, embarrassed and furious, immediately snapped at Emma. "Couldn't you have helped me stay up? Do you know how much this outfit costs?" she barked, shaking dirt off her expensive clothes. Emma, taken aback, stayed calm. "I'm really sorry, ma'am. Are you okay?" she asked gently. Rachel scoffed. "Okay. Do I look okay? This blouse probably costs more than you make in a month." Emma, hurt but maintaining her dignity, slowly rose to her feet. "I'm sorry that your clothes are more important than kindness," she said softly. "I hope one day you realize there are things more valuable in life than the price of a blouse." Rachel, stunned by Emma's response, felt a pang of shame but quickly buried it. "I don't need life lessons from someone like you," she shot back, adjusting her sunglasses. But just as Rachel turned to leave, something caught her eye: Emma's wrist. The crescent-shaped birthmark was unmistakable. Time seemed to stop. Rachel's mind flashed back 25 years, to the day she had held her newborn daughter in her arms for the first and last time. The realization hit her like a freight train. She stared at Emma's wrist in disbelief. "That mark," Rachel stammered, pointing. Emma, confused, instinctively covered her wrist. "What about it?" she asked, her voice wary. Rachel couldn't respond. Her world spun as memories flooded back. The baby's cries, the weight of her in Rachel's arms, that tiny crescent-shaped birthmark. Without another word, Rachel turned and fled the park, leaving a bewildered Emma behind. The following days were torment for Rachel. She couldn't focus at work, her mind replaying the encounter in the park over and over again. The guilt, which had always lurked in the background, now consumed her. She had humiliated her own daughter. the child she had given away. Driven by a need to make amends, Rachel used her vast resources to track down Emma's information. What she found only deepened her regret. Emma had grown up in an orphanage, struggled to make ends meet, and was working tirelessly to pursue her dream of becoming a nurse. Rachel knew she had to do something. One rainy afternoon, she walked into the cafe where Emma worked, nervously waiting for her shift to end. When Emma finally approached her table to take her order, Rachel took a deep breath. "Emma, we need to talk. It's about something very important." Emma, still stung by their previous encounter, was wary. "I don't have anything to say to you," she replied coldly. "Please," Rachel begged. "It's about your biological mother." Those words stopped Emma in her tracks. She glanced around the cafe, now mostly empty. "My shift ends in half an hour. If you're still here, we can talk," she said, her voice uncertain. The next 30 minutes felt like a lifetime for Rachel, but when Emma sat down across from her, she struggled to find the right words. "When I was young, I made decisions I've regretted every single day," Rachel began. "I was scared and thought I was doing the right thing, but I was wrong. Emma, I am your mother." Emma's face went pale. "Is this some kind of sick joke?" Rachel shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. "It's not. I gave you up for adoption because I thought it was best for you, but it was the worst mistake of my life." Emma stood abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "I don't believe you." In a desperate move, Rachel rolled up her sleeve, revealing the birthmark on her wrist. "Look, it's the same mark. It runs in our family. When I saw yours, I knew." Emma stared at the mark, her mind racing. Memories of all the unanswered questions she had growing up flooded back. "Why?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Why did you abandon me?" Rachel's heart broke. "I thought I was giving you a better life, but I realize now how wrong I was. I can't ask for your forgiveness, but I needed to tell you the truth." Emma didn't respond immediately. Her emotions were a whirlwind: anger, confusion, sadness. "I need time," she finally said, standing up. "This is too much." Rachel nodded, her voice thick with emotion. "Take all the time you need. If you ever want to talk, I'll be here." She handed Emma a business card, her hand shaking as she did. Emma took it reluctantly, then turned and walked out of the cafe without another word. In the weeks that followed, both women grappled with the revelations of their shared past. Rachel, now confronted with the emptiness of her success, made changes in her life, slowly softening her hardened heart. Emma, still processing the emotional roller coaster, eventually decided to reach out. Their first reunion was strained but honest. Over a simple dinner at Rachel's home, they talked for hours. It wasn't easy. There were tears, accusations, and a lot of unresolved pain. But for the first time, they were beginning to understand each other. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. Months later, as they sat together in Central Park, the same place where they had first collided, Emma looked at Rachel with a soft smile. "I never thought we'd get here," she said quietly. "Neither did I," Rachel replied, tears in her eyes. "But I'm so glad we did." In that moment, both women understood that despite the scars of the past, the future held endless possibilities. They had learned that true success wasn't measured by wealth or status, but by love, forgiveness, and the chance to grow together.